Today I want to show you the install of the Maximus-3 tire carrier. Here it is, the door opens, and it's really a beefy piece of equipment. What it does, it takes all the load off the hinges, and that's where usually the problems occur if you want to run something bigger than a 34 inch tire. Everything comes really good packed from the manufacturer in Detroit, and everything is there. That thing is really tough, it's really heavy duty. Here's the receiver, it's a 2-inch one. It comes with a third brake light mast and the sport package and all the required hardware. The high lift jack mount and the rotor packs are accessories which you can order if you want them. But what I did was I just put some black RTV on the metal to metal contact surfaces. Before you start unbolting your tire carrier, you just have to unclip the third brake light wire inside your tailgate, and then you just start to remove your factory tire carrier. Just go ahead, take your spare tire off and unbolt the carrier with the 8 bolts, 13mm, and save those for later. Don't toss them away, you're going to need them later. You simply start by prying the plastic trim piece off your tailgate hinge. Just snap it out, move it forward, and you want to be careful to do just one hinge at a time, otherwise you're going to disposition your tailgate, and that's going to create a little problem. So what I did, I just went ahead and took some old Rust-Oleum masking tape, put it around. Don't have to be super careful because it's not going to be in a visible spot later on. So that's just a little bit of corrosion prevention for the future. Now you can go ahead with a T50 Torx bit and completely remove the upper tailgate hinge. Then I just went ahead and repeated the same process with a paint on the other side of the hinge. Any overspray later on can be removed by just buffing it off the clear coat, so no worries there. In the next step, you just put the 2 hinges together, bolt them back on, and you can start tightening the door bolts well. Don't forget to use red Loctite so everything remains tight and snug on your tailgate. Now you just repeat the process for the second hinge. Leave the outer hinge of the body a little bit loose for adjustments later on. And if you're using a high lift jack mount, now it's the best time to install the bump stop on the lower right tailgate bolt, which I learned the hard way. After the hinge pins are in place, don't forget the washer inside the hinge. You just put the snap ring on, and a second hand comes in handy in this process. After everything is aligned and straight with the body lines, you tighten the inner hinge bolts with your L-shaped T50 Torx bit, and that's why you need that one, and this is why you left the outer hinges a little bit loose for adjustment. You open your tailgate and continue to torque down the inner hinge bolts with your T50. In the next step, you're gonna install your carrier stop block. You're gonna be reusing your old 13mm bolts from the stock tire carrier, and after having it vertically adjusted, so it's going to have the right tension on the carrier later on. Make sure everything is in place and it's going to be tight and snug. Then you completely tighten your 13mm bolts down again by using red Loctite as well. After that, you tighten the tie rod bolts. After that, you adjust your tie rod for the right preload, so make sure the holes align. And then you want to shorten it by 2 full turns to have the correct preload set up when the tailgate closes, so nothing's going to rattle with a shut tailgate. To insert the bolt through the tie rod end, since we shortened it, you will have to open the tailgate a little bit so these holes align again and it can be fully tightened. Before you install your receiver hitch on the carrier, you're gonna have to measure your back spacing of the wheel so it's pressing firmly against the carrier later on. The next step is to install the male part of the tire carrier to the frame, and instead of me doing it that way, I would go ahead and undo the tie rod again, so you don't have to wiggle around with the nuts on the back side, which can be a little bit painful. I discovered that later. Then you go ahead and take the female part of the receiver and your measurement from the back spacing, and you just set it to the next shorter hole and tighten all up. To connect your third brake light, you cut the grommet from the stock wiring harness and the plug at the end, and you will just crimp on the supplied butt connectors and fish it right through the tailgate and route it through the carrier and through the mast, so it will end up in the third brake light right on top, which is pretty easy to do. And then you secure it with 3 screws and you're good. Alrighty, your stock wiring harness comes with a black for ground and a white with a red thin line for positive cable, and the other one has a red and a white. So go ahead and plug the white wiring cable to the red of the brake light, and the black from the stock wiring to the white one on the brake light. After that, you may want to do a quick check if everything works and lights up. Now that the brake light works, you just go ahead and install all the accessories you ordered simply by the supplied screws, and make sure you're using a blue thread locker on all of them, and that's going to be the fun part. Before I go ahead and attach the Rotopax mount, I just installed the spare tire, and the Rotopax mount goes right between the high lift jack mounts, the 2-piece mount, and you simply thread it on with a 5mm Allen. You take your vibration stop bolts, which can be adjusted for the Rotopax canisters. They suggest a 2-gallon canister, and that thing really fits snug tight in place. There's no wiggling, no rattling or something else. I use the fresh water and the gas canister and no issues at all. The high lift jack installs easily and is also a tight fit, very precise, no rattling, no banging. It's just fun to use that thing. Once you're done with the installation, it's just time to enjoy the fruits of your labor. That thing is, to me, totally worth the money. There's no rattling. It's really good engineering. The tailgate opens smoothly. It holds. That Jeep was sitting on an incline. It was tilted sideways and it still holds. It closes very smoothly. You can feel that the load is totally off the tailgate, and it just doesn't make any noise, and I'm glad that I picked it up. If you like the video, I'm glad to if I could help you, and have a good time on the trail.